Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Friday night Redox 5, formerly known as the ASEA 5. We welcome you from wherever you're coming in at. Those who are just joining, please let us know in the chat where you're coming from, listening from. My name is Dr. Lee Osler. I happen to be a practicing dentist in the state of Washington. And my co-hosts tonight are Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio.
Hello.
So our trusted wingman there, we excuse Maureen Hayes. She's with some family. She's back from Europe, but with family tonight. We have tonight one of our esteemed medical professional board members, Rich Michal MD, all the way from the East Coast of the United States. He comes out of Duke University, so he's got a pedigree there that we like to brag on him about because that makes him smarter than others, I guess, certainly smarter than me. And so we're so glad he's with us. And he's going to have a rich story. There's a pun there, but he's going to have a rich story tonight to tell.
I love it.
About how he wound up with us here in ASEA and with his family. So again, we'll start by making a disclaimer that we represent the company ASEA Global. This is a nutritional health supplement, and it's governed by FDA rules and regulations in our country and all of the 33 countries around the world that we are currently in as a company with this product. And as such, we don't make any medical claims. We don't diagnose, we don't cure or treat diseases. We're talking about supplemental cellular health measures here. And so we will address those in some depth tonight. Rich, welcome. A big warm welcome to you.
All right.
We love having you on because you have such a deep story and a deep understanding of what this is about. You have a unique style now of medical practice, and we want to get into that as well. But maybe you could start with us tonight by introducing yourself. There's going to be people from all over the world right now, as well as those watching later who don't know who you are or why you're even here, why this interests you. So maybe you could start with that and kind of give us at least the high altitude view of that, and we can go from there because I've got a bunch of questions I'm just waiting to drill you with.
Thanks, Lee. Really appreciate it. I'll get you at the next board meeting. But anyway,
Yeah.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for asking me on this evening around the world. It could be in the morning. But yeah, as Lee said, golly, what drew me into a supplement? Because again, as Lee mentioned, this is a supplement. This is not a pharmacologically prescribed agent, and so it was out of my bailiwick entirely. You know, I went undergraduate at Chapel Hill, then changed one shade of blue to another one, went to Duke. I guess Duke's claim to fame right now, other than being the academic side of it, is they beat Clemson. So I guess in the football world, just for a brief flash of a moment, Duke can claim that, but they played pretty good basketball in the past too. But at any rate, yeah, matriculated there, graduated, went into family medicine, and started a faith-based practice out of residency program in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Did traditional family medicine, delivered 50 babies, didn't want to have the 51st, thank you. So very, very busy practice. Basically, for those of you that are talking to doctors, doctors are super, super busy. The business model of medicine has changed over the years. And it's really a sad thing in many ways because you have less and less time with the doctor. You have more and more time in the waiting room to see your doctor. And it's a very, very quick interaction. You don't really get a chance to talk much about anything other than take the medicine, here's your lab results, good, bad, indifferent, and see you in 3 to 4 months. Heaven forbid if you get sick, you'll be seen by somebody else who doesn't even know you, who might be in the same practice. So I switched out of that model 3 years ago to a concierge model, and I love it now. It plays a huge role in what we do, really getting down and measuring things that I never measured before, never in all those years of practice. But really what drew me to this topic of ASEA, which is a supplement, as some of the people on this call that I've seen have joined us this evening, they know that I had no room for supplements in my regular medical practice. Just
hey,
too busy. Yeah.
Can I ask you, did you get approached a lot from your patients with other things like this in the past? If you don't mind me asking. Okay.
Yes, I sure did. Okay. And honestly, Jim, my answer, and it wasn't smokescreen. It was absolute truth. You know, when you're working 12, 14-hour days, routinely, 5 days a week, and then in the last, 8 to 10 years, I was doing that on Saturdays, not seeing patients, just trying to get through the paperwork, preparing for the next week. And then before church and after church, I mean, life was, life was just difficult. And to have somebody say, hey, could you look at this? I've got something I want you to look at. It was just like, it was another thing on my plate, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're married and have a few children as well. So you kind of have a family life as well.
Yeah, didn't have much of one towards the end there because just no time. It was very, very difficult. Four grown daughters. We have, I got to count them up, 14 grandkids and one in the hopper. Going to have 15. And therein lies actually a great segue into how did I get involved with ASEA? So I had no time to look at supplements. And, quite honestly, many of your medical professionals are in the same boat.
Right.
They just literally, it's not that they wouldn't like to, perhaps, but they just have no time and really almost no life. And, but life does happen to us all. And it's 6 years ago now. Gideon was 13. We had just had Christmas with them. 2 days after that, I get a call from my daughter, Anna. And in probably 2 or 3 sentences, she told me what was going on. And I immediately knew, get him to the pediatric emergency room now. Do not wait. Don't even, for the ambulance to try to find you guys would be a challenge. They are out in the middle of nowhere, and it's easier for them to get going and get there. They did. Within 3 to 4 hours of initial assessment, he was at my alma mater, Duke.
Hey, Rich.
Yeah.
Real quick, how old, did you say how old he was? And was he a fairly active young man? I mean, prior to that, was he leading a normal life?
Yeah, he was 13 at the time. And very with it. You ask him to do 4 or 5 things at once. He clicks them off, does them. Getting involved with sports at that age. They're homeschooled, so they were getting involved with homeschooled sports and so forth. But he proceeded to need to stay in Duke. He had an extended stay there, about 5 weeks. You never want to be that star patient at a university medical center, because that means something's really, really badly wrong with you. And they just couldn't figure him out. They actually went out and did soil samples where they live. I mean, I participated in the rounds on the weekends, and talk about feeling impotent. Here I am, his grandfather. He's face planting. I had to assist him to the bathroom. Otherwise, he would have landed on his face. He could not speak, and he could not swallow. Think about that. age 13-year-old kids getting a feeding tube so that he can get fed. And it was really challenging, let's put it that way. So he was neurologically challenged for, very impaired. When he left Duke, he went to rehab for peds, had a little bit of improvement, but marginal. So he's going home and the whole family's having to make adjustments. And they went through a period of the next few months because Duke had tried everything. There was no medical treatment that they could offer. And so they went through lotions, potions, contraptions, everything on the internet you can imagine. They're going through thousands of dollars of savings. They're readjusting even physically where he stays in the house. Life was difficult. And really through the power of one person telling another person, telling another person. It had nothing to do with pharmacology. It had everything to do with redox biochemistry and the wonderful products put out by this company and their decision some long time ago to not make it a pharmacologic product. Because one person told another person, and it finally found its way into Gideon. And that was an interesting process. But within several weeks, because Anna homeschools the kids, she could see major changes. And that just started a whole cascade story. Fast forward, he's just turned 19. Over the last several years, he has participated in cross country and nationwide in the homeschoolers in his age group. He's placed in the top 10 the last several years in terms of runners. He's cognitively back. He and I share, what book are you reading recently? He'll share a book. I'll share a book with him. We pass books back and forth. Anna would say, and she has said that she has her family back. And so Redox changed the landscape for him. And basically, we were having a birthday party with all those kids. You have a birthday party. I was invited, of course, and she said, "Hey, Dad, you want Gideon's having some amazing progress finally. He's using something, and do you mind hearing about it?" And I said, "Well, no. Why should I mind? Because I've been his grandfather, right? Trying to help your own grandkid. I'm a doctor. I couldn't help him on either one of those accounts. And I felt really impotent. So when I heard like something's helping, why not listen? I'll never forget that. It was Ed and Rebecca Weens were there, Paul and Fred Logis, and Dick Walker. And, they were talking about redox biochemistry. And I'll tell you what, in my medical school, as prominent as it was, back then, we did not see any real positives about redox biochemistry. We saw no benefits to it. It was almost junk science a little bit, kind of. And so, I didn't know anything about it, but all I knew was, if this is what he's taking, this is what he's using, this is what's making a big impact. I bloody wanted to find out about it.
Yeah.
Oh, so I spent actually behind me, right on that shelf, is hundreds of dollars of textbooks. And I went and bought textbooks. Felt like I'm going back to medical school just a little bit. But anyway, it was painful but important for me to read and to realize, wait a minute, this basic science has gone through leaps and bounds on this thing called redox biochemistry. So amazing, it's there. And you just start connecting these dots and you say, well, gee whiz, it's important and vital to our lives, to all the cells in our body. This is how they communicate. This is how they work well. This is how we can be we can be everything maybe we were intended to be, and we have a chance to get into more balance. And this is important for us all. Dr. Osler has written a tremendous book. He's written several books I have on my back shelf, and there's a concept of balance, or not being too much on one end or the other, and a little bit of stress, whether it's how we eat, that we don't eat constantly, that we deprive our bodies of some caloric intake for periods of time. That's putting a good stress on our bodies. Exercise is a stress to our bodies. Again, in moderation, it's incredibly powerful what it can do. We need a certain amounts of sleep. All this stuff is in balance, okay? And unfortunately, Gideon was tremendously out of balance because of some external things that happened to him. So, to see this happen, Jim, was fascinating. And so it kind of put me into this mindset of, what, just because it's not a prescription doesn't mean it can't be incredibly helpful. And it started me on this road where I am now. And I've just seen amazing things. And to me, it's no wonder, because the basic biochemistry is there. And, the ASEA company, bless their hearts, they found a way, I think providentially, to find out how they could stabilize redox molecules outside the body. And it's been a game changer for not only my grandson and other members of that family, but for countless other people. So that's probably a lot longer than you wanted to hear. But
That's
it's
great.
Emotional. It's that got me looking, and I investigated, and now it's just an amazing opportunity for anybody on this call that's not familiar with this to really take a hard look at redox biochemistry. I mean, you just do a little Google Scholar or PubMed, just search on anything relating to redox biochemistry and some interest you might have in terms of health. And it's an amazing amalgamation of articles that are happening now. It's burgeoning science. It's where the next Nobel Prizes are going to come from. It's an amazing, we're even at the tip of the iceberg, even though it's been going on now for the last decade. I mean, it's nascent, but it's important, and it is timely for all of us on this call.
Right.
Real quick, either Lee or you, real quick, Rich, Dr. Michael, but why not go to Google? Because a lot of people don't know. They're not. Look, I went to Google Scholar, and Ann can understand. You guys, I can't understand that.
I love it.
Can you guys? Yeah, but if the everyday people, me, go there, I'm lost. But yet, so we're used to going to Google. Can you explain why that is not the place to go? Either one of you, please.
Yeah, what you're really saying is don't. Anybody can put sources and information on Google. It isn't that you can't find good information on Google, but Google needs to lead you to the right places. And the places you want to wind up with is what we call the PubMed database, which is a standardized government-based database for all the science literature. And so, and this goes back, decades. And so, Google can take you to the right places. There's a part of Google called Google Scholar, but the point is you want to wind up at a place called PubMed or the NIH, .gov sites, and therein you will see independent research. And what Rich was saying is this is so new, outside of maybe 2 or 3 textbooks currently in existence about the kind of redox biochemistry and biology we're talking about, there isn't really a whole lot written. So you have to go back to sources. You have to go back to original sources, and that's to stitch together the original articles. And there's tens and tens of thousands of them now. And both Rich and I, when we started, that there wasn't there, and we kind of had to figure it out with only a few sources. So that's the point.
I was going to say something. I just kind of went bye. It seems what you went through, Rich, explains why the business model, and I'm not sure if you had any, oh no, it's one of those things when you first heard about it from Anna, but this really explains why this is really the only way to bring this to the marketplace, because I don't think you would have looked at this, but I tell people that, like when I'm talking to a doctor, I said, and my dad was a doctor as well, and it's like, believe it or not, they get sick. Believe it or not, they have patients that come in that you may not know what's going on. Then they come and say, hey, doc, I'm doing this and I got better. And then with family, but it really seems to take that. But it's the word of mouth that I don't know if Anna would have heard about this if it wasn't for one Paula Logus through, if I'm not mistaken, a quilting class. I mean, it's just amazing how through everyday communication you share with people that I'm having an issue. Hey, do you know what might be able to help me? So did you have an issue, Dr. Michal, with networking?
I didn't, I was just more or less familiar with the big company from years ago.
Okay.
I knew about them, but this seems so different. And honestly, as long as it's an ethical form of business, I didn't have a problem with it. Would I have chosen that business model if I had this product? And I probably wouldn't have had the foresight. I'm so enmeshed with the traditional American business model. I probably would have not even thought about it. But I honestly didn't have an issue with it. I just had to figure out, I guess, I heard enough about it. I said, well, okay, so if I order a big order, does that help Anna? Because they have to buy this stuff. And that's all I knew. So honestly, I didn't. And to me, it's positioned perfectly because it's not written as a prescription.
Right.
People on this call, if they're not involved currently, or if you're just starting, you can have tremendous impact on people because life happens.
Amen.
And, life happens. And you honestly may be the answer to somebody's prayer by just sharing, just being open, not pushy. I just want to help you. I've heard about this. Their brain challenge my mom had. I hear you have a kid with a brain challenge. Maybe it would work. Don't know. But why don't you take a look at this? I mean, it was just in a quilting class, a hobby of all things that got that started. And, it's just, again, one person telling another person. So there's a power. Again, when we are affected at a gut level, it forced me because of my background. I wanted to do the intellectual stuff. I love it. I love going to PubMed. I love picking out a different topic to look at. And hey, how involved is Redox? Where's the research on this for that? Okay.
Hey,
so I love that.
Rich, did you, because I know Maureen, she said, okay, you understand because PubMed is talking about the biochemistry. Well, but then you have to jump over to, well, that's in here. Did you have any issue with believing that those molecules were in here?
No, because by the time I was looking at this, it was already third party validated by laboratories whose literally their $1 billion reputation is on the line, and they can't afford to, be wrong. And so it's been validated. So I didn't have an issue with that at all.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I was just going to share, we were talking about Google Scholar, and those that don't understand them, of course, they're abstracts and things that doctors go to, but it's the correlation between these redox molecules and whatever you might be going through. But those of us that are healthy, you can go there and just type in redox signaling and optimal health, and you're going to find tons on it. It's just, again, if you don't understand it, don't get bogged down with that. Just go get redoxmatters.com, and then you can check out Lee's page and books. And it's so much easier to read Healthy Matters because it is easy for the layman to understand it. But I like the abstracts, and I like to show people that, they got this big whatever going on. There are studies at NIH, PubMed, JAMA, Google Scholar that all talk about this science, and it is exploding. So I was thinking about Anna when she first, she started on it. We of course want, hope for our family, whoever may get on it, that it works. That's why you didn't question anything else about it, because you saw your grandson get better. But when she started him on it, did she share with people, like, say, her doctor, assuming it was more than just you, she was sharing for his care, but did she share that it was the redox molecules that were making such a dramatic change? Because sometimes people, the naysayers may think, oh, sure. But how did she go about it besides telling you? Did she kind of shout it off the rooftops, or was she still a little bit, wow, how could this work? So yeah, what was she going through?
Well, she was going through a lot of joy because
awesome.
Gideon was the most affected. Obviously, he was hospitalized. He had major neurologic challenges, but there were a few of the other kids that had similar oxidative stress points in their lives. And they had different manifestations. And their younger brother, Arrow, great kid, but he would literally have a condition that I swear, when you first you thought they're boys, they're playing. One of them must have taken a baseball bat and slammed his knee, because, it would literally blow up, get so painful he couldn't walk. And like the day before, he's running around playing. Well, there are conditions that can affect the joints like that. And again, the basic underlying issue was caused by a bite of a tick thing. Okay. And, but that was the manifestation for him. It wasn't the neurologic issues, but it was something else. So wow. Some of the other kids, they had manifestations. So here's Anna trying this, and she's seeing all this stuff. If you've never been in that position where your kids are that challenged by a medical something, and all of a sudden you start to see them, and you knew, like, there was nobody in the traditional side had anything to offer. It wasn't that they didn't care. They cared. They just didn't have anything. Right. Yeah. Okay. So, and this is addressing an issue for all of them. So, yeah, she's definitely shared it with a bunch of people. That's for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
awesome. That's great.
Real quick, I'm a new patient coming in to see you. How do you share, if you feel that this would be beneficial to me with whatever I'm dealing with, my back issues? How would you explain what these molecules made from salt water are going to do? How do you explain it to me?
Oh gosh. Well, it really, everything is individual. So we talk about where your issues are, okay, where your challenges are. And one question I start out with is, hey, on a 0 to 10 scale, how open are you to non-pharmacologic intervention? There are people that, if it is not prescription, they just won't use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're asking your patient, me, that question.
Yeah.
How open.
You're the doctor. I'm the patient.
Yeah. But
Okay.
I'm trying to assess how open you are to a non-pharmacologic intervention.
Okay.
And you know, there may be lots of non-pharmacologic interventions we can do. There may be issues with that you need some mechanical help. You know, there are therapists that are versed in how to do things. You may need some help kind of reassessing how you move. You know, there are specialists that can help us with that. But when it comes down to, you know, something that you may be having a source of chronic inflammation, and we've been talking about redox and redox biochemistry, and you know, chronic inflammation is not a good thing. Whether it's in our joints, it's in our blood vessels, it's a killer. Okay, and inflammation is just devastating. And you know, what we're doing is, and one of the great things about the ASEA in particular was that they can, it seems to have a beneficial effect in terms of antioxidant properties and enhancing those, but with not increasing any kind of acute inflammation patterns. So, you know, I mean, basically, Jim, what we would do is we would talk about it. I would tell you straight out, hey, this is not a prescription. But, you know, we may be able to use it along with anything else that you have tried or would like to try. You know, and honestly, I make you sign a disclaimer because there is this business side of it. And I don't want the patient to ever think that if they choose not to use it, I'm going to treat them any differently. No, I'm not. You know, it's like, I don't kick people that want to continue smoking out of my practice. I don't think it's advisable. I can tell them it's a very bad practice to be in. It's terrible. But just because somebody doesn't want to listen to my medical opinion on, hey, you should stop smoking, I can help you, I'm not going to get rid of them. And so I don't want them to ever feel like they're cornered, like if you don't do this, then I won't ever treat you again. I'll work with that patient. So, you know, but it's amazing. And, you know, one of the things with the liquid that I would just point out is when we're using that, I always say 90 days. You got to give it 90 days. And you got to take enough of it. Yeah. You've got to give it time. Some of the other things, the gel form of the Redox can really be a game changer because, you know, it can rapidly, the person can rapidly see some benefit there if it's a musculoskeletal issue for them, where there's some discomfort. So, you know, there's a lot of things that can change. Even skin can change within a month of using it. So it's some powerful stuff, but I always want to make sure that the patient is at least on board enough to give it a try.
Every time.
Hey, real quick, how much was Gideon taking back in the day when he first started? Did Anna keep track of that?
You know, he was just using the standard dose for a young teenager. They maybe started with 2, but they got him up to 4. But he wasn't taking, you know, mega doses. I think, you know, knowing what she knows now, and knowing what I know now, I would have strongly urged her to have changed that.
Okay, so you do recommend if people are dealing with a health issue to drink more. Okay.
Yes.
And then potentially more of the gel, which, by the way, is double the strength of the liquid. I see some comments in the chat, and someone said it's 10 times stronger than the liquid. It is not. Please be cautious, folks, when you're out there making claims that if you don't know for sure, please reach out and make sure you're repeating good information. And the advanced serum is double the strength of the Renew. And by the way, I did just clarify that today with Hunter. So I am absolutely correct on that. Something else I want to bring up real quick, Rich, is when Anna shared it with you, she was rather brilliant in having some other people there, because it wasn't Anna. Now, I don't know if you felt kind of, let's get dad, but I know those people, so they were a fan. But it wasn't Anna that shared it. She maybe brought it up, Dad, are you open to hearing? And then you had another doctor. I didn't realize that Dr. Walker was there. And then obviously Ed and Rebecca, and then the Loguses as well. So that was rather pretty. You were more receptive to that, or?
Yeah, here's, again, the undeniable thing was he's getting better.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
that's
some kind of supplement. I don't know anything about it, but I'm like, I'm curious. I want to find out about it. I'd never met the Weens before. Dick Walker zoomed in, so he was on the screen.
Okay.
He zoomed in.
That's
and
great.
To have a double board certified doc, that was very helpful. That was helpful. It added credibility. But I listen, I knew they weren't making it all up, right? It was not a sales pitch. It was real. But I just had to decide, and I have to give, even though Maureen is not on this call tonight, within, I guess it was within 3 to 4 weeks of me learning all about this, Ed had hosted an event at Pinehurst. Maureen was there. Right. And so again, kind of hearing about it, hearing some stories, realizing what it was doing for my grandson, starting to read some about it. And then here comes this physician, and Maureen and I had some good side conversation, and it just helped helped stoke the fire a little bit more.
Yeah,
right.
That's great.
Lee, if you don't mind, you said something last week, and I want you to, if you can remember what you said, to repeat that. We had Dr. Ralph Stevens on a call we did this past Tuesday, a cell biologist from Ohio State University, retired. But he said that redox molecules are foundational. You said that it's an act.
It's a violation of nature.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about. It's a violation of nature that these can't, they have to work.
Right.
It is physiology. So
can you dig into that a little bit deeper, Lee? Because when I think of, my pen just
gravity,
it always works. These molecules always work, right?
Because they have to work.
Well, there's laws of nature out there, and yes, laws of physics are, easy to talk about and demonstrate, in kind of a macro sense, but in the micro sense inside the cell, things work inside the cell based on polar gradients and where electrons flow. It's how molecules exist. It's how proteins are folded and how they conduct the business of the cell is based on these rules of pH and electrical charge and reactivity with each other. And we talk about signaling or communication. And we have this idea that it's like two humans talking to each other who are thinking about the words they're saying. Well, that's not what's going on in the cell. It's a mosh pit of biochemicals just all floating around and bumping into each other. And the direction the reactions go are a function of the electrical charges and the predominant concentrations and the pHs and the temperatures and the competing molecules that are out there with their receptor sites looking for the lock and keys to fit into them. And nature has choreographed and has designed this system to the nth degree that we can't even comprehend. So when we do start to understand this just a little bit, where we say, well, what is the rule what are the rules of health, right? What is it that makes a cell function properly? How does the cell know it's in trouble so that it even knows to respond? And then how does it respond? How does it give out instructions to the little machines inside the cell, the organelles inside the cell, so that they can turn on and turn off when they're supposed to turn on and supposed to turn off? It's a responsive system. And that is the magic, I think. I use that word like this. Again, it's not magic. There are rules that guide this, but we don't understand miracles, so we call them a miracle, right? And so, because we can't totally, explain it to that nth degree. But it's when the cell becomes slightly oxidized, when it is mildly oxidized.
What does that mean? What does that mean to me?
So oxidized means it involves oxygen. The oxygen has to be present, okay, in this idea. And it's the stealing of electrons. It's the movement of electrons from one molecule to another down a polar gradient. We know that you put two magnets together. If the north ends of two magnets come together, you can't get them together. But if you flip it around, you've got north and south, they attract each other because that's, again, a law of physics. They're attracted to each other. There's a polar gradient there. Well, electrical energy is the same way. There's positive and negative charges that exist on all of our molecules. And those are there because of the nature of electrons, which are like the planets orbiting the sun. Those are the little particles in the atom that go around the nucleus, right? And when an electron leaves that orbit, it changes the electrical activity of that atom or that molecule to be more reactive, because now it's not stable, it's not quiet. Everything wants to live at the lowest energy level possible. We call it entropy. And so if it's a reactive molecule, it's out looking to steal an electron, and that process is called oxidation. So in this redox, we've got reduction and oxidation. Whoever gives up the electron is reducing or stabilizing a highly reactive molecule that's out looking to stabilize itself by stealing somebody else's electron. That's the basic level of this whole communication. Those are the laws of nature that dictate why this has to work. And when you provide that environment, is just a quick aside, this is what anti-aging is all about. There are hacks. There are ways you can manipulate this environment, this oxidative environment, such that you can reduce and rebalance and restore and rejuvenate and get this communication functioning so that you're not going to die, right? And we call that resilience. And in our little redox equation here, we talk about these molecules getting on board, rapidly diffusing through the body, affecting the on-off switches, and those are the rules of the cell. It turns them on when they're supposed to be, and it turns them off when they're not supposed to be, such that we create this resilienceness. This is anti-aging, and this is all dictated by that mosh pit of chemicals, biochemicals, just like swirling around inside the cell, doing what it does based on its status, its redox state. And whatever that state is the direction of our health.
Okay, that was unreal. And to think that the molecules that make everything you just said work are in here, right?
Trillions.
And so a dietary supplement made from salt water in Salt Lake City with zero nutritional value, and you drink it and rub it on, and your body's going to do what is against nature. It's going to start improving instead of declining. We're still going to, I hate to break the news, but we are still going to pass away. Am I correct, Rich?
Yeah, this happens.
Okay.
But I want to have, there's a concept, and I think Lee has actually written about this, and it's in the literature. It's our health span.
Right.
So exactly.
I want to have quality. I want to be there with my mind as much as I can. When you have your health as you age, And I see it. I've got patients in my practice. One guy's going to turn 100 this coming year.
All right.
Okay. I've got a 94-year-old spark plug that will run circles around you. But it is our health span. So yes, living longer is great, but I want to have that quality. And,
right.
Jimmy asked, is there stuff it can't do? Yes. ASEA, drinking 8 ounces a day for 90 days. I have yet to see that it ties your shoelaces for you. It will not pump the weights for you in the weight room. It will not help you to make better food choices. It will not say, no, you don't need to eat every hour on the hour.
Right.
This is a lifestyle. This is a lifestyle. And it's a redox-based lifestyle. So it's a complement. And see, I see this. There are patients who they want just a pill to fix everything, right?
Exactly.
They
microwave mentality.
And listen, I'm all about easy buttons. I joke with the patients. I say, if I find something and we can hit the easy button, let's go for the easy button. But sometimes it's not always the easy way. Okay.
Right.
And so we have to blend things. And just as much as somebody who's totally fixated on pharmacologic, if it's not a prescription, I don't care about it or it won't work. I don't want folks to just think, well, if I only drink the Redox, then I don't have to worry about the other things. We can mesh. And the power of it is that when you're dealing with things at a biochemical level, as Lee was articulating, we're getting down to the basic roots. We're getting down to the basics. But the outworking, I still have responsibilities to do some other smart things that are going to, put this in a balanced situation. I want a little bit of oxidative stress. I want just a little bit so that as I'm taking the redox molecules, it's going to work optimally. I just want that. And we just all need to be careful that we don't, if somebody's lost a leg, unfortunately, to diabetes, it won't regrow the leg.
No.
Now, it may help them, unquestionably moving forward. So we have to remember that disease, things that happen to us medically, there's an area under the curve. Some things happen acutely, like, jumping out of a pickup truck and I twisted my ankle and I broke it. That's an acute event. But so much of this happens an accumulation effect. We look at the epidemic of obesity in our country. You don't go from perfect weight to overweight to obesity in just a matter of months. It's a process. There are things that happen. And so, I love the fact that redox, having these molecules, having this gives us a real fighting chance at having health span that is meaningful, that is powerful, moving forward. And we just need all of it. And this is a missing link for so many. But we just need to realize it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't tie our shoelaces.
Where I was 8 years ago, I was in a lot of discomfort. I was taking 500 pills a month I've had 10 back surgeries. I had a stimulator put in. When my best friend approached us, where I was, I had no hope. And that's my message and why we do this and why we have so thankful that with Lee and Maureen and you and Ann and all the folks that come on, because my message is I want to give people hope that no matter where you are at your life, you have to make some choices. We got challenged by Alan Noble. I did back in St. Thomas to do 10,000 steps a day for 21 days. We just finished day 45. So I say, get up and get moving. But that's part of the puzzle. It's not the whole thing, but it's part. The nutrition. Lee wrote the book Healthy Matters. It also matters we do have, and that's where Ann's expertise is with the nutrition. You have to put in the good stuff. You can't just do our nutrition and expect it all to work. And then the cell performance, and then with the facial care system. So my message, guys, is I just want to give people hope, but you have to make some changes.
Well, and our nutrition supplements for the people that are not, eating right or having as clean as they can a diet. Here now we can get the things that we're lacking from the typical Western diet, get it in the supplemental form, and ours are superior. How they're synergetically work with Redox, they power Redox potential. They're, the way they source it, the omega for the brain, the biome, the slippery elm, the lion's mane mushrooms. I mean, ASEA, when they put something together, they don't just pick anything. This is why we only have 15 products. They're all cellular health. So here, when you make an advice to somebody, counsel them, you're having them utilize products that are going to help the cells get healthy and help people stay healthy. And, like you said, it's not a magic potion. It's not a overnight wonder. It's consistent daily using it and waiting to see the changes that the body can do it for itself.
And what's Lee, and I don't know if you want to we have our convention coming up for those that are going to be going. Rich, are you going to be there? All right.
Yeah, we'll look.
Yeah. So we will not be here in 2 weeks. We thought we were going to be doing testimonials, but we have an event that night, so we will be taking the night off. Mm-hmm. But some of the new stuff that we're going to be able to talk about, and we will have Alan Noble and Ed Weens and Scott Aldred will be our guests over the next 3 weeks. But where this company is going, Rich, I'm not sure if you're aware, or Lee, but there are scientists all over the world that are reaching out to ASEA, not ASEA reaching them. They're reaching out to us to do studies on some of these specialties that they have. This is going to be significant. Any words on that, Lee or Rich? Can't talk. Dang it. I was hoping I could get something out of them.
But here's the great thing. It's a tip of an iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
This is the tip of a informational iceberg. And I think the cool thing is, and I know Lee's used this analogy, right now we've been connecting the dots. There's basic biochemistry. ASEA is probably one of the best kept secrets. I mean, it's one of the best kept secrets. And that's why it's incumbent on everybody that is part of using this now, and you've seen the benefits, to just share it. Just share it out of love. Honestly, this is a love story.
Yeah.
It's not just about, I love the electron switches. By the way, Jim, thank you for making me an electron donor, because you put an E in my name. And I figured that was just a play on words. You added an E, and I'm an electron donor, Lee. Would you like one? I'll give you my E. And there you go. But
you can reduce me anytime.
We're getting too personal now, guys. Come on.
But seriously, to everybody on the call, this is a love story.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if Ed and Rebecca hadn't, out of love,
right,
then after Paula, and Paula hadn't shared with a friend who had a medical challenge at her hobby,
right.
And if she hadn't shared that, and then the daughter of that had not shared with Anna, hey, I saw your prayer requests, I'm praying, but I've heard about this great thing my mom's using. Don't know if it'll work. It's one person loving on another person. And,
and it started with, it started with the love.
Yeah.
It started with the love from Vertus Norton.
Yeah, our founder.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, love for humanity.
So
knew something out there could help the world, and everyone should know our mission statement.
So we got a couple of minutes. I've got one question. Why doesn't anybody else have this? Now, my answer is it's a divine gift. But Rich or Lee, can you why doesn't, we've been on the market 14 years. Yes, it's heavily patented intellectual properties, but why doesn't anybody else have this yet? Anybody? Any takers?
Well, it's the divine.
It's the divine. And Gary Samuelson said that, by the way. He said, he said, I heard him say it with my own ears. God chose me to give it to you.
If this would have wound up as some people would wish it had of at the time, into a pharmaceutical drug, we would be speaking about it in terms of one indication, one disease, one application, and the 1,000 other things that it helps would all be off-label, and we wouldn't be really officially allowed to speak to them. And you would have to get this through a physician. Dr. Michael would be writing prescriptions for it and supervising it. And so that just wasn't practical. It wasn't needed. The safety studies had already been completed that documented that it was 100% safe, which was why it was never going to be a drug, is because it couldn't kill anything, which you have to be able to demonstrate so that you know the toxicity level. So that was just a dead-end street. And so it was a divinely genius decision to flip this to the supplement side, which means, new rules apply, as we stated at the front. But it also allows us to talk to everybody, and we could do it now. We don't have to wait 10 or 20 years. So this is out into the marketplace. It's done by word of mouth on purpose. It's not a mistake that this isn't on the shelves of Walmart, because that blue bottle, hold that blue bottle up again, Jim. If you walked by that bottle and it says, saline, and that was sitting on a Walgreens or a CVS or a Walmart shelf, you'd have no clue what it is. We have to tell people and explain to them. They have to read science and books and listen, but mostly listen to stories. When my wife's physician told us to get her on this, and it was flipping the switch for her in 48 hours, and our jaws dropped. And it's like, after 40 years, this is the first thing that has had this kind of dramatic impact in her health. It's like when E.F. Hutton, everybody speaks, everybody listens. So all of a sudden you're tuned in, you're going, what is this? And all these other concerns, they just kind of go away, at least in my opinion, to thinking people, those concerns dissipate.
So real quick, we're going to, who cares? Can you answer the fact, because my biggest concern is people start drinking it and it tastes kind of funky in the beginning. Some think it's pool water, and to us it's just regular water. But my biggest concern, doctors, are, I didn't feel it. I gave it a week. You told me 90 days, doctor. I know, and that's where I'm going, Lee. But I want people to hear the message. It's working.
The second you sip it.
I just don't know on what and when you'll feel it, because it has to. It cannot not work. Can you guys say that? So maybe they'll listen. And that's why we do this webinar. So all the people out there, I saw someone that wants Lee, you to do, a three-way call. This is the three-way call right here, guys. All you have to do is to share the video. Go to redoxmatters.com in about an hour and a half, and you can share this video with anybody. This is your three-way call.
Or go to Real Redox Results and find a story similar to Jim's.
Yeah. So again, www.realredoxresults.com. Password is lowercase Redox. But
Jim, I'll take a stab at it. I'll take a stab at it. And just I'll just 30 seconds. It can happen the opposite way too, because it's the fatal error of thinking, if I don't feel something, I'm safe, or it's not working. It just depends on your frame of reference. Okay, I don't feel any problems. I have found in my practice plaque buildup in arteries in a 26-year-old woman.
Wow.
Okay. Many 35-year-old guys. I will tell you, they had no clue. And unless you use the right tools to find this, you won't find it until it becomes symptomatic, and it becomes symptomatic like a stroke, a bad thing, a heart attack, something bad. I need stents put in. What? Where did that come from? Okay, so there's a danger in that. But the flip side is this. I'm taking this. I understand, yeah, this biochemistry is beyond me, but it's electrons, and I trust you on that. And it's in the bottle. Yep. Good. Okay, folks, after 1 week of taking it, the aha moment, and see, the aha moment is different. That's why I said earlier, what is your pain point? What is our goal? Where do you want to be? Okay, this is it. Okay, there's a top 10. What's on the top 3 rungs? Okay, the aha moment 1 week after taking this diligently the correct way, holding it in your mouth for 30 seconds or so, swallowing it, all that kind of stuff. 15% of people, 15%. Okay, but those people continue using it. At 4 weeks, it goes up to 50% aha. Aha, it's working for my whatever. I can feel it. I can justify it. I have subjective or objective ways of telling. At 2 months, it's a much higher 75%, but it's not 90% until you've used it for 3 months. And some people, it takes even longer. So the danger is in stopping an effective measure that's going to help you too early.
Right.
And I could say that with many of the pharmacologic interventions I use. So, I do understand quick fix. I want to feel the quick fix, but there's a danger in you're going to lose on something that would be long lasting, essential to your ongoing health span, and you'd miss it. And I just hate for people to miss it.
And make sure that you drink it every day. And we have learned that it's really good, not mandatory, but if you take it the same time and every day, and we try to take ours every 4 to 5 hours. So just some basics there, but you can't skip days and double up, every 2 or 3 days. It's got to be every day. Lee, you want to close up real quick?
Well, this has been most enlightening. I always love having Dr. Rich on with us. He has such a wealth of information and such a pragmatic champion of what we're talking about. He's got a great story. So thanks, Rich, for staying up late and being with us. And to everybody else, hope you listened to what Jim just said. Share this with people that you know. You don't really have to prove this. It's like not everybody gets it, and that's, I guess, what makes the world go round. We're looking for those that are open to wanting to see things in a different way. We appreciate you, Jim and Ann. Thank you for being a major anchor for this. And for all of those of you around the world who tuned in with us and during this show or are seeing it on replay, please contact the person who lets you know about this if you're just hearing about this, and get your questions answered. And I would just endorse what you heard earlier, that is just get some. You are the N of one. That's the study that you really want, is in your own experience. And so that would be my closing thought there.
And I want to close with do not please purchase it on Amazon. Our company goes from the manufacturing to you. There is never will be a pit stop in Amazon. If they have the product, but it's not legally had, it could be tampered with, it could be out of date, and there's no loyalty points. You will never build a business by moving product through Amazon because you'll lose your distributorship. And also just be cautious of some of the negative poo-poo head reports, as I call them, that could be found in Google. Go do proper research. Reach out to the person, like Lee said, and get the proper information. Go to redoxmatters.com. Again, redoxmatters.com. All of our replays are there. And then the favorite site we go to beyond that is to go to discoverredox.com. Discoverredox.com. Next week, guys, we have the animal lovers. Come join us. We got Marty Morin and Beth Wolford. They are just, again, like Dr. I think all of our folks are our favorites. We love them all, and we're so grateful to you, Dr. Michael.
Yeah,
your time is so limited. Please give your wife say a big thanks from us to share you with us this evening. So with that, guys, in 2 weeks, again, we'll be at our global convention. I pray we'll see you all there. If not, we'll be back the following week with Alan Noble, then Scott Aldred, and then Ed Weens. You're not going to want to miss the Ed Weens chit chat that we're going to have about our distribution model. So we love y'all. Thank you everybody. So much. God bless. Have a blessed weekend. Lee, thank you. Thanks, we love you. Dr. Michael, can't wait to see you in a couple of days.
Bye, y'all.
Couple of days.